Something I feel like we don't talk about enough is the fact that in Twelfth Night, Viola's soliloquy and Sebastian's soliloquy mirror each other. I left no ring with her, and this is the air, that is the glorious sun, follow almost identical structures. Viola begins holding a ring. Sebastian begins holding a pearl, both given to them by Olivia. They're both in ridiculous, impossible situations. Not only are they trying to figure out what to do, but they're trying to figure out what's going on. And they try to reason their way through it, but eventually they both just sort of throw their hands up in the air and say, okay, we'll see what happens. Viola says, "O time, thou must untangle this, not I. It is too hard a knot for me to untie." And Sebastian says, "There's something in it that is deceivable, but here the lady comes." It's just so clear to me that this was written by someone who understands twins. My boyfriend is a fraternal twin, and whenever he and his sister are together, it's fascinating to watch because they just seem to share a common language. So it's not just that Viola and Sebastian look alike, it's that they share the same spirit. Not only that, but Sebastian also has a line in his soliloquy where he's describing his current circumstances of having this wealthy, beautiful woman just throwing herself at him, and he calls it an accident and flood of fortune. Now, what do those words sound like to you? Accident and flood of fortune. To me, it sounds like a shipwreck, but like a happy shipwreck. Viola has similar language just a few scenes earlier when Antonio mistakenly calls her Sebastian, and she thinks to herself, oh God, could this be true? Could he still be alive? And she says, oh, if it prove, tempests are kind and salt waves fresh in love. Again, kind of this oxymoronic imagery of a happy shipwreck. And going back to Sebastian's line for a moment, accident and flood of fortune. I'm going to get a little technical here, but bear with me. Shakespeare's using a rhetorical device here called hendiadys. It's basically where you connect two words with the word and when you could just use one word to describe the other. So, for example, in Hamlet, he says, "Oh, what a rogue and peasant slave am I." He could have just said, "Oh, I am such a roguish peasant slave," but he didn't. Or in Macbeth, when he says full of sound and fury. He could have just said full of furious sound. That might have been more intuitive, but he didn't. It's just an unusual word order, and whenever Shakespeare does this, it's worth exploring. What do we gain from this? So in this case, he could have said accidental flood of fortune, but he didn't. He chose to separate it out. Now, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but the word hendiadys is Greek, and literally translated, it means 1 through 2, because you're expressing a single concept using two different words. And you know what we call hendiadys in English? The figure of the twin. 1 through 2, kind of like the line, an apple cleft in two is not more twin than these two creatures. Shakespeare has given Sebastian a rhetorical device called the figure of the twin. God, I love that.